Hey, it's Coach Taylor here from SmarterTeamTraining.com. I'm actually excited, like I say a bunch of times, I'm really honored to have a lot of really cool guests on the phone and get a chance to talk with shop with them and to get them on to share some ideas and some of their experiences. And I'll be honest with you, everybody on the show, again, I sent an email out just asking people if they're interested. And Mike Golden instantly replied back with a very enthusiastic, not only email, but he also gave me a phone call, like right off the bat. And it was really cool to have a conversation. I was in the truck. He was getting ready to go on vacation, and he was sticking around, spending a little more time in the office than he probably should have. He just wanted to talk shop, and it was really cool to have a conversation even before getting on the show. So, Coach Golden, man, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day just, again, to talk shop. You've never met me. I've never met you in person. I know we've done a couple things back and forth on email here, and I'm looking forward to just learning from you and having you a part of the show, my man.
Well, I really appreciate it. I'm excited. Anytime you could reach out and help people not make the same mistakes I made coming up in a business, I'm more than happy to do it. It's one of the favorite things and probably the best part of this job.
Coach, can you do me a favor? Can you tell me a little bit about your background, where your passion comes from, and a little bit about what makes you tick?
You know, I remember reading Muscle and Fitness. A buddy of mine lifting weights, and I used to mess around with him a little bit. He used to have all these Muscle and Fitness magazines or everything, and I remember reading an article called Hike Your Football Efficiency, and it was by, I think, Bob Ward, who was the Cowboys strength coach at the time. And after reading that article, I was probably 14, 15 years old. I knew right then and there that's what I wanted to do. I don't know why. It just hit me like a thunderbolt. It just got me hooked.
Coach, people might not know your background or who you work with or where you even have worked. Can you do me a little bit of a favor and tell me a little bit about what you consider as your specialization? Are you a football-only guy?
When I first started out, I was a power lifter. Once I got hooked on weights, I started powerlifting. I got in with a great group of guys, an unbelievable guy named Kenny Fantano, who coaches a lot of the top-level benchers. Just was an unbelievable coach. He owned a gym called the Muscle Factory. And the people that came in there and just the knowledge that he gave out and the free exchange of ideas was unreal. We had a couple guys lucky enough to qualify for the Nationals. I went down there with them. I wound up coaching for Black's Health World, which, if you don't know powerlifting, you wouldn't know who they were, but at the time, they had the best lifters in the world. So I coached at the national meet. If you won the Nationals, you got invited to the Worlds. Team won. The team that I was helping coach actually wound up winning the Nationals. So that led to an invitation for me to go to the Worlds. So I coached at the national meet and the World Championships for 6 years, excuse me. And I really got a good base of powerlifting background. But when I started, I was a little powerlifting heavy, but the thing that it taught me was everybody's different. We had guys on the team that you could yell and scream and like break a chair over their head to get them fired up to go lift. And then other guys, you would just put their straps up and they'd go and break a world record, like wouldn't even make a sound. So it really taught me that athletes, all different athletes have different motivators, and it's your job to find out what that motivator is and how to tap into it. So that really helped me along the way, really how to handle athletes instead of treating everyone the same. I know you do that in your first couple of jobs. You just treat everyone the same, and, you know, you get stuck at treating everybody like you wanted to be treated when you were a guy. Well, I take negative stuff, and a guy tells me I suck, so it pisses me off, and I live better. But it just doesn't work that way, and you just learn that over time. It's a mistake, especially me and a lot of strength coaches make. You know, you just got to find out what makes guys work. Program-wise, you know what? I look at every single thing that's out there as a tool to put in my toolbox. And there's times, there's individuals or there's teams that you're with at a different year that you might need to pull that tool out and say, you know what, we need to do more explosive work. Or if the team is really weak, you know what, we really need to concentrate on strength, so we're going to do some powerlifting stuff. Or your speed development, we need to do that. I'm a broad guy. I like to look at things to find out what that team's weakness is and go after it. And then the next year when the seniors graduate and you get new guys in, you got to figure out what their weaknesses is, and then you got to build on them and try to, you know, eradicate their weaknesses. So it's a constantly evolving deal with me. I'm not a cookie-cutter guy. I don't have... You know, you can't look at one of my workouts and say, now there's certain things that I do that you'll say, oh, yeah, that's Coach Golden. But, you know, I love to do strongman, put that in to all my training cycles. I just think that it helps you so much, especially with football. But we've done it with, women's volleyball. We've done it with all different sports. Kids really enjoy it. It's a competitive environment, and I really feel that it helps you as an athlete. I think it closes, we call it bridge lifting, because it closes that bridge between the weight room and the field. For some reason, guys get that, it's called strength leakage, where a guy might lift, X amount, and let's say he bench presses 400 pounds, but on the field, he's pushing guys around at 300 pounds. So we've got to find that 100-pound difference of that, and it could be just a tendon strength, it could be, body positioning. So adding the strongman in to the regular lifting, I think really helps out, helps the athletes get after it on the field, helps them do some things I think that they wouldn't be able to do without it, and also, of course, helps with mental toughness and team building and all that good stuff.
I know you're involved in a lot of different aspects of the field and within the department as well. I mean, what aspect do you enjoy actually the most?
Two things I love about this job. Number one is just seeing kids succeed. You have your own little part, and, when you first start out, all your successes are wins and losses. Like, you think that that's it. And if you don't win, you suck, and if you win, you don't suck. And it's taken time for me to realize you just got to get guys better. And if they just keep getting better and all the moons line up and you keep guys healthy and you got good players and you got good coaches and your program's good, you're going to win. And if those things aren't all there and you're just trying to build it, it's going to take time. And I think I enjoy the struggle now more than I did before. Instead of just the wins, I enjoy the struggle of trying to help teams and guys get better. I love that challenge. That is, to me, the best thing is just trying to build a team, build kids up, make them better, watch them improve, whatever it is, their 40 time or their vertical or their bench, whatever it is, just to make them get that football confidence or that, whatever sport they're in, just get that, confidence in themselves that they can get better. I believe our job is to teach them just how to work hard, how to work after a goal, and those are things that are going to carry them over in life. I mean, a kid sets a goal, you steer them in the right direction, you help them reach it, they're going to be able to do that, when they move on in life, when they get married, when they want to do this or that. And then the other aspect, now more than ever, I think because of some of the places I've been and some of the unbelievable guys that I've worked with, is helping young guys just get a start or just get better. Just helping them, believe in themselves and helping them just get to the grind, learn how to do this business because it's awesome, and just after it.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the combine numbers, and if a young high school recruit or you got a chance to run in and talking to a high school player who, let's just say, wants to either decrease his 40 time or increase his vertical or get a couple extra reps on the bench press. I mean, what's the one big message you might have for those guys?
Number one, I think when it comes to those things, I'm not a guy that gets caught up in numbers. I tell guys, no matter who they are, I don't care where you start. We tell recruits that. We tell everybody that. We don't care where you start. We care where you finish. Some guys come from high school programs that got unbelievable strength and conditioning, and other ones never even lifted before. They're just great athletes or great football players. So I'm not really worried about numbers per se, but if a kid wants to increase or get better, the number one thing is don't overtrain and smash your weaknesses. Too many guys just keep wanting to, just do the same thing over and over because they like it and they feel good about it. And, they might not be working their triceps enough to help them in the bench. Or their run form might not be good enough because it's tedious and they don't want to take the time to do it. So they just keep running in quicksand and don't get any better. So I think that's number one is get yourself strong, stay basic, don't overtrain, and smash your weaknesses would probably be the best advice I could give to anybody.
I want to bounce around here a little bit as far as how my mind works and having a guy that's been at a couple different programs, and I'm going to ask you a little bit of your advice. In the college setting, you get a chance to work with a lot of teams depending on the uniqueness of the position that you get a chance to be employed by. At ECU and USF and now at Massachusetts, I mean, how do you go about administering schedule within the room? Do you assign people by sports or by position or by class? I mean, or even look at their class schedules?
We look at class schedules. Football usually rules the roost, and I'm not saying that because it's the most important, but just the sheer number of guys is so much more than anybody else that they'll usually get to pick their times, and then the pecking order after that is mostly in season. The in-season groups, let's say it's baseball or volleyball, whoever's in season gets the next, times that they can work out, and then it just goes from there. And it's usually worked pretty well. We're very flexible. We usually have people, come in and do what they have to do at all different times. So we usually do that. But with like football and everything else, absolutely, we do. We have class schedules. I like to pick my guys up into linemen, mids, and skill. I have guys that specifically work with the mids. I have guys that specifically work with skill, and guys that work with the linemen. And they're pretty much their position coach. And we just go from there. We work them out. We know their injuries. We know how to work around whatever they have, how to motivate them. It makes us all work better and closer. And that's how we work with our scheduling. When the linemen come in at 10, these guys are working with these guys, mids are working with these guys, and it just works out that way. But it is, it's constantly after the first couple, after the first year, everybody kind of knows the roost and rules the roost, and nobody gets mad with the other sports as long as you treat them all the same. I think the biggest problem in this business is people go all out and train, let's say, like maniacs, and then they just could care less about the other sports. And we train everybody just as hard as we can because we want everybody to be better. If it's a reflection of you and you're putting your name on that program and they say you're their strength coach, then you better work your ass off and make them better.
When you get a chance to watch the athletes that you get a chance to work with become successful, are there commonalities amongst things that they do as far as the actions they take within the weight room, nutrition, sleep, hydration, those types of things?
That's a great question because every team has guys that think they're going to the league. And, again, I keep using football because you work with them so much and there's so many different personalities on it. But everyone thinks they're going to the league. And, talking to some of the younger guys we've had in our team that, just aren't there yet, they haven't understood the maturity process of what you need to do. And looking back at all the great players that I've had the pleasure to work with, they all had one thing in common. They all took care of business. Like, it's the most common denominator of every guy that I've had that have gone in the first round, that they all had that in common. They always took care of business. They were never late to workouts, never missed workouts, never were in trouble for not going to class, never missed study hall, never had trouble with the dining hall, never had trouble. They always knew how to take care of business. And it's an amazing thing that you bring that up because we were just talking about this like 2 weeks ago, and kids were asking me, well, you had this guy and you had this guy. And the most common denominator is they all, obviously they knew how to take care of business and they all worked hard. I mean, I had the pleasure of working with Chris Jonson at ECU, and people say, oh, he's this, it looks a little fun, he's got the hair and the talk and all that. Let me tell you something. If there was a cat I was going to go to war with, it would be Chris Jonson. I mean, here's a guy that he would go and have a 450-plus all-purpose yardage game on a Saturday. I mean, kick returns, punt returns, run him till his tongue was hanging out. Next day on a Sunday, as banged up, as sore as he would bring it, lifting and running, and get after it just like anybody else. Every single time. He was just an amazing guy, and all the other guys I had the pleasure were all the same way. They just knew how to take care of business.
I want to talk a little bit about the nutrition side of things. Again, I think it's an aspect of our field that sometimes we get overlooked as far as strength and conditioning coaches. And some people have resources as far as sports nutritionists in their program. But I want to talk a little bit beyond the education realm and discuss about how do you create a culture of healthy nutrition in your program?
We're actually started a program here. We started this last semester, and we're really going to ramp it up this semester. Again, it comes with education, and we have a nutrition thing attached to our school, and we bring in the upper-level students. They'll come in and give maybe once a month, they'll come in and give a talk about nutrition, and we are constantly hammering about nutrition. Our head coach is huge about it, just about what's the first thing those guys that are doing combine training do. The first thing they do is they change what they eat, and you hear about that from all professional athletes. For some reason, they get out of college and, man, I'm going to change what I eat. Boy, I feel 100 times better. I feel good. I do this. I do that. So education is number one. We keep giving it to them. And we're actually hand-picking guys. We started with 6 last semester. We're going up to 10 this semester, where we actually have students one-on-one, and they meet once a week with our players. And obviously they're guys that play or guys that are redshirt and that are going to be really good. And they're sitting down with them and going over their stuff once a week, taking food logs, meeting with them in the dining hall, really just educating. And The other guys are seeing those guys get better, gaining weight, losing weight, doing the things they need to do. So they just go in and they're joining in and say, man, I want to be a part of it. And then we're getting more students to come over. So we're constantly building it, and really I think we'll probably have over half the team. By the time we get to camp, we'll probably have half the team or everybody on a team, maybe a 2-to-1 ratio with nutrition students that have to go through a rigorous program with a director that runs a nutrition program here and just get it going. But it is an overlooked thing in college, and it's if you get it right, like some schools have really got a great programs that they built over the years, and obviously that's our goal to do, you really, really, really will notice the difference. I mean, we're lucky here. We have an unbelievable dining hall here. It was rated like number 1 to number 3 the past like 3 or 4 years in the country. Kids have unlimited meal plans. They have the choices are unbelievable. So it really helps us to help educate the kids, and they've been really good. I mean, they have really, the kids that we've had really bought in. So it's just a matter of getting the thoroughbreds eating right and doing good, and the other guys want to follow along. And it's just, again, it's just an educational process.
I've had a chance to sit down and look at your program again. Are there exercises that you avoid in your program or exercises that you encourage in your program, whether it be strength or conditioning?
Like I said, everything's a tool. I'd say if there was one lift I'd really avoid is the snatch. I'm just not good enough to feel comfortable coaching it. It's such a technical thing, and the shoulders are just so fragile, and that's me. And I know it's 100 guys say, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 he doesn't do snatches. I don't really care. I mean, I do what we do. Even with cleans, we don't catch a lot. At certain part of the season, we will, but other times we really just do like the explosive high pulls for power, because just the wrist and the elbow beating it takes, and it's so much easier to teach. Explosive high pull, you get triple extension, which is the goal of power cleans. I think guys, so many coaches get caught up in doing power cleans and numbers, but if you really look at it, 90% of the guys are doing reverse curls. I mean, they're not even doing triple extension. They say, oh yeah, well we can, we got 100 guys that have power clean 300 pounds, and all they're doing is reverse curls. They're not good triple extension, and that's all you want out of the lift is getting triple extension, getting that whole body to explode at once. So I've kind of cut portions of those out to still get the explosiveness, but it's 10 times easier to train. It's easier to coach. It gets done faster. And again, we're not making weightlifters. I'm not going to worry about numbers. I just want guys to get better and get them on the field and keep them there. And, I've just seen too many guys get hurt, their wrists or their elbows, and you know how that goes. You got to explain that to a coach. You lost your starting running back to a wrist, doing something, in a weight room that could have been avoided by just doing a high pull or something like that. It just comes down to reality. And sometimes you just have to deal with reality, unfortunately, and that's just one of the things. So, we mess around with that, but, really, I just really into the hard work. Like, when we run, we run. When we lift, we lift. There's no fluffiness. There's no anything. I have no problem doing things, using parachutes and sleds and, any part of tool that we can use. Obviously, we're always going to squat, front and back squat. We're always going to do that. Obviously bench here, do those parts of the lift. And just do a little bit of everything, as much ground-based stuff as we can, heavy med ball stuff. It's hard because, again, I'm just not a cookie-cutter guy. I like to use everything when I can use it.
Obviously, your passion is very palpable. And this question, I'm looking forward to the answer because I've been waiting for this as we were discussing it. If I was a player for you, I think this is one thing that I would be sold on just from the couple conversations we've had. But, I mean, how much emphasis do you place on learning about each player, their background, their motivation, and their goals?
More and more and more. The longer I'm in this, the more I'm getting involved in that. I mean, it's just amazing. Your earlier years, you're just so caught up in everything. It's just kind of hard to do. And, especially at ECU, I had the most unbelievable staff any strength coach ever could ask for. I mean, it was the most dysfunctional group of human beings, but we were so functional and our strengths all complemented each other that we just did unbelievable things. And one of the biggest things that then that's when I really noticed how important that was the relationships that we built with the players. Hey, here's your mom and dad. I mean, this is this. That, you know what? I didn't have a mom and dad. So that kid is not going to understand what you went through. I was lucky enough. I had great parents or whatever, raised me, whatever. And you've got to learn how to deal with kids that were raised without parents, or they were raised with their grandmother, or did all those things. And when you look at it from that aspect and you have great relationships with them, you're going to learn what motivates them. And it's unbelievable what a phone call or a thing like that will do. I mean, just the other day, we had a kid, I remember, a freshman at ECU. I remember recruiting him. His mom and dad were awesome people. He was just a wild cat, man. This kid was crazy offensive line. I mean, crazy. I remember his first play, his shoe came off and he got in a fight and almost ejected from the game. I mean, the kid was nuts. And this year he was just voted first team all-conference or offensive line. And I called up his mom and dad at home, and I was like, listen, I just want to let you know how proud I am of your son. He came so far. I worked hard, and his mom's crying on the phone. That means so much. But, those are the things you do when you build relationships. You can't let those things slide. And it's so important. And the more I'm in this business, I'm telling you, that's like 80% of what I do. Literally 80% of what I do. These kids, when you just ask them how they did on a test, I mean, when I go to staff meetings, I actually pay attention when academics come in and say, so-and-so did this, or so-and-so struggling in this class. You go up to the kid after the work, hey, why are you messing around, Matt? Why are you having problems in this class, blah, blah, blah. Or, hey, you did a great job in the test. Those kids will never stop talking about that. They'll come to you and say, hey, Coach, I did good on this test. Look, I did this, I did that. And it's just, again, it's just the fact of building relationships with the players. It is. It's 80% of our job right now. The longer I'm in this, the more I'm realizing that that's definitely the case.
You brought up your staff at ECU, and I'm always interested in what people are doing with their staffs to develop some type of professional development type scenario within their conversations, or sending them to conferences or events, but more so the in-house stuff. And what are you doing week to week, and how do you structure it?
What we did there, we had such a diverse group of personalities on our staff. We had guys that were out of their minds. We had middle-of-the-road guys. We had guys that, they understood. Yeah, it's funny because I just literally today just wrote an article on what we did for me, because I think that was the hardest thing for me as a strength coach was delegating. And when I got there and, I started off, I just did everything. Like I would just have football players in the weight room all the time. And out on the field, I had to cover everything. I had to do everything. And these guys were all getting pissed. They're like, Coach, we want to get better. Like, how can you evaluate us when all we do is stand alongside you and kind of, load plates and spot and this and that? Like, we want to coach and we want to get this done. So I literally sat down, and for the month of May, usually you have that 2 or 3 weeks off, we met every single day as a group. We went over every lift, what to look for in a lift, what to coach in a lift. And the other thing we started doing there, we had to train together. We had a group of like 5 guys plus about 5 or 6 intern, volunteer, part-time people. So we had about a group of 10 of us. And we all trained together every day. So we would learn how to coach. Every rep there, and I tell guys this all the time, every single rep a player does, he's doing something right or he's doing something wrong, and you better let him know either way. If a kid's doing something right, reinforce it. If he's doing something wrong, take him aside and fix it. Show him how to do it, find a way. I don't care if you show him videos. I don't care if you do whatever. But what we did for that month of May was sat down and said, okay, this is the squat. This is what we're looking for. This is the bench. When we run, this is what we're going to do. This is what our kids are not going to do. They're not going to put their hands on their knees. Anyone that puts their hands on their knees, we're going to run extra. This is how we're going to discipline guys. We went over everything I expected from everything. Then we went over all our players and said, this is how we handle this guy. What do you think of this guy? We need to handle him this way. We need to push him this way. This is what motivates him. Then we wound up matching up our guys to positions and basically made them position coaches. And I would have a couple guys that work with the DBs, a couple guys that were, and the wide receivers. So they would have the skill guys. They would do the base workout that I wanted done, and they had free reign. Whatever they wanted to add or whatever they thought those guys needed, they would do it. And after that happened, things just exploded. Like the relationships and the things that they were learning, then it was like, Coach, you know what? Then they felt invested in the program. Instead of just being coaches, they had an investment in the program. And I was getting over my jitters of, well, my name's on the line. If I screw up, It's me, so why would I let anybody else do it? That was a hard thing for me to do, but once we really started building that trust and working together, it was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. Then guys started saying, well, Coach, you know what? I saw this on the internet, about working with DBs, or I saw this drill, and it really motivated them to find ways to get better. Then obviously, we would have things, we would have in-service things, we would do, whenever we traveled to a conference or whatever, I had one rule. I'd say, guys, every one of us is going to find one thing we can add to our program to make it better. When you find that one thing, I don't care what you do after that. I don't care if you find it the first day or the last day. And then the last day of the conference, we would set up in a room or set up somewhere, and we would all meet and say, okay, Coach, you know what? I saw this thing for the summer. We should add this. Do you think we should put this in? We would all discuss it, yay or nay, and then we go on to the next guy. And we just kept getting better because we really knew our players. We really know what the team needed, and it just really grew from there. But I think the investment part really just, once they got invested, it wasn't a matter of telling guys, okay, we've got to meet and go on this. It was automatic because they wanted their groups to be the best. They were adamant that I want the best group. No, my group's the best. I mean, we literally get in arguments. I mean, if I had half the linemen, another guy had the other half, we'd be going at it, trying to beat guys, outwork guys, outrun, whatever it took. That's what we built it on. And then the other thing with the trust factor, I think, was the biggest change was we had one rule that came from the powerlifting days of me lifting in the gym. You would get corrected whether you liked it or not. And we set this rule that no egos are aside. If I look over and you got there's a guy in one of your racks doing something wrong, any one of us can go and correct it. If I had a guy in my rack and I was looking at one guy and he was looking at this guy and there was something wrong with his technique or doing whatever, they had free reign to come over and fix it. And I think that is what took us to the next level because our players are like, man, it's all about us getting better, man. It ain't about this guy saying this or that. And I think that really helped it. So, we did meet at least once a month, but it was a daily. I mean, after every workout, we always met. After the workout and run was over, we'd have a staff meeting every single day, all the time. Okay, what do we do good? What do we do bad? Sometimes it'd be 2 minutes. Anything we need to add, any problems with any kids, anything come up with any of your guys we need to, discuss. Is mom or sick or, anything like that? And we would just do that every single day, and it just really built from there.
Someone had a chance to hear you speak or read an article or just be around your program, and what's a big motivational tool or motivational message that you really like to share with people?
Don't stop. Just work. Believe in yourself. Believe in what you're doing, and work hard with enthusiasm. Don't ever go in the weight room and have the kids be more fired up, more jacked up, and more whatever than you are. That's an absolute crime. Absolute crime. I mean, I remember we had 5 guys. I remember this one workout we had. We had 5 of us working. We were doing a strongman competition late in the summer, like a Friday morning, like 6 in the morning. We spent $72 on energy drinks just setting up, just so we could be out of our minds, jacked up, to just keep the players motivated and keep them going. That's your job. And I could say, I've had players always say that, Coach, you've never had a bad day. I'm like, how could I have a bad day? I get to do what I love every single day. They're like, you've never been down. Every workout you get after it. And that's what we do. That's our passion. Always wear your passion on your sleeve. Don't hide it. Don't think it's cool. Get your out there and work and just get these players going. I'm not a big speech guy. I'm not, it's all about just getting after it and working hard. And for the young guys, it's believe in yourself. Believe in what you're doing. Don't copy somebody else. Do what you do. Just make sure the kid's form is perfect. You're applying the right type of science, especially with, your running and all that. You're doing the right energy systems, and you just believe in yourself and go. I mean, it's amazing the amount of interns I've had over the past couple of years that have zero confidence, zero anything. I want guys that want to be head guys. I want guys with juice. I want them to come in and say, Coach, give me that group, man. I'm in. What do I got to do? Let's go get it. How can I get them better? What do I got to do with these guys? I don't want guys just to stand there, load plates and all that kind of stuff and just sit back. And there's so many guys getting in this business that are like that it's just clouding it up. Like, we need to go back to the old school. And the guys that last a long time, that's what they do, because that's what coaches notices. They don't notice guys on the phone. They notice guys coaching and running around and having good relationships with players and having fun on game day. That's what they're doing. And so I guess if there's one thing I could say, it's just get after it. You know, our slogan is let's ride. You'll hear my kids say that, and I'll do that all the time when we're getting in the weight room, man. That's all they hear is let's ride, and they know it's time to go.
Well, Coach, man, again, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day here, especially in the holiday season. I know it's a little bit of your off week. Just taking your time out of your day here, late evening. For those that are listening, we're not doing this in a normal 9-to-5 kind of gig. It's almost 8:15, and Coach Mike here really took some time out of his day just to share some thoughts and some energy, man. I really applaud your passion, and I enjoyed just hopefully getting a chance to meet you down the road here and learn from you and continue to develop a relationship. And hopefully this is a launching pad for both of us, my man. If anybody had any questions about anything we discussed here on the show, how could they go about reaching out to you before we get going here?
They can go to CoachMikeGolden@yahoo.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. That's my email. They could email me and just go from there.
Again, Coach, man, I appreciate it. Hopefully we can stay in contact here, and I look forward to doing a bunch of things down the road to learn from you, and they can continue to grow the relationship, big man. Happy holidays and football as well, big dog.
Same to you. Thank you very much.